Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to another episode of the Connected Spirit podcast. Today, we are so fortunate to have an amazing lady here with us today sharing her story. And her name is Jamie Lee Silver, also known as the Grief to Gratitude Guide. She is an expert in utilizing EFT tapping and matrix energetics to bring peace of being, peace of heart, and peace of mind to people who are moving through grief. Her renowned grief to gratitude system has helped countless individuals transform their deepest sorrows into genuine gratitude. Jamie's personal journey became the catalyst for her work when her beloved son, Ben, battled late onset schizophrenia, tragically taking his own life in 2015. Motivated by her grief and determined to find purpose in the pain, she embarked on a mission to turn her tragedy into a source of healing and inspiration. She is the founder of Ben's Memorial Mile, a yearly event in Downers Grove, Illinois, that has raised over $150,000 for schizophrenia research and suicide prevention. Jamie, so honored to be here with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, love.
Thank you so much, Courtney. I am honored to be with you.
Jamie, you have this incredible journey, and you have gone through what some might call the worst thing a person can ever experience, a parent can ever experience. And your journey from grief to gratitude is so powerful. Can you kick things off by sharing how your personal experience led you to create the grief to gratitude system?
Sure. Well, as you can imagine, Ben was a perfectly happy, great kid, my songwriter, singer, poet. Just he and I always shared such a deep heart connection. And he was a runner, a star runner. And then he got a scholarship to college that he really wanted. And once he got there, he couldn't run anymore. And he was the shortest kid on campus. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with his ankle, that he couldn't run anymore. And he started breaking down emotionally. And I have always been a deep believer as a born empath, and I didn't know it. We didn't have that language. We didn't know what it was. As a born empath, I always knew that the key to happiness was inside. And I did many, many different modalities. And right before Ben got sick, EFT tapping came into my life. Chanting had been there for many years, but tapping, I knew it was tapping into this source inside that could actually generate that feeling of loving myself deeper than I ever had before, which to me, it really is happiness. Self-love is so important. And then the worst years of my life were after he got sick. And for 2.5 years, I just battled to keep him alive every single day. I just woke up. How can I keep Ben alive today? What can I do? And it was just, anybody who's been through this knows that it's definitely a trying time. Mm-hmm. And when he gained his freedom from what he perceived was chasing him, mm-hmm. and he became my angel, I could immediately feel his release. I could feel it. He was like, wow, I don't have to suffer from that terrible disease that got inside my brain anymore. And I knew that I could connect with that level of happiness. Mm-hmm. And even though parts of my body were still overcoming the trauma of what I had just been through, mm-hmm. I knew that my spirit was lifting up with him. And I sat down to write to him, and he immediately wrote me back. We published our book together, Our Forever Ben, which I published to inspire people, because I know there are so many people who are suffering from the disconnect when there's a process for having that connect that's painless and simple. And I love to teach people. So that's how
That
we came about it.
Wow, that's wild. I know the loss of your son, Ben, was really this pivotal moment in your life. And I'd love to just dive a little bit deeper how that heartbreaking experience has really shaped the work that you're doing today.
It brought me familiarity with the moment that you open your eyes in the morning and you hear this scream coming from deep inside your body all the way through of no, it's not possible that my son is no longer walking on the earth. And that just basal, just like right, there's a word I'm looking for, but I like that guttural no, that impossible no. It was my determination to turn poison into medicine. And one of the first things I wrote him is I will cry until I run out of tears. And I actually gave myself permission to cry and gave myself permission to warn. I didn't wear eyeshadow for over a year and sometimes still don't wear it. And I gave myself permission to be touched. And I did that through EFT, which is a process of allowing your emotions so that they can flow through you. And that's what I help my clients do as well, because what's on the other side is where really true contentment, happiness, and gratitude lies.
It's incredible. I've used EFT for myself for many different things, trauma, anxiety, calm my nervous system, and I know how powerful it can be. You talk a lot about healing from all kinds of loss, not just the loss of a loved one. And in your approach, the grief to gratitude, how is it helping people navigate those different forms of grief? Because grief can come from so many different things, not just the loss of a loved one, like the loss of status, the financial, crushing of what some people are even feeling like today with our economy, depending on what country you're in. I'm in Canada. We're struggling. The United States is as well. And, end of a relationship. Grief comes in so many forms. How does your approach actually work and help people?
I love that question. Thank you for asking that. Where we start with my approach is what in this moment someone is suffering from.
Mm.
And we take the specific moment, whether it's past, present, or future. I worked with someone who was mourning her divorce.
Mhm.
And where it was showing up in her life was in the supermarket and wherever she was about in town, that she was like petrified of seeing her ex. So where we tapped in her instance is stepping her through a future scenario.
Mm.
Like, even though I'm afraid that I'm going to see him, around the corner, and I actually step her into the place, like walking in from the car,
Mhm.
like going into the supermarket and looking around, helping the nervous system each step of the way. And she was able to totally restart her life in every way. She's now deeply in love and she's converting a farm to a floral community. And she credits me with getting her life back. Because when we recognize how we feel, we can free ourselves. Can I tell you one other example?
Yeah, of course.
No, I worked with this wonderful woman who had been hit by a car. And the trauma, the surprise. Now, everything around that, she had to wear a weighted vest. She had to have all these accommodations at work because she could only, like, her motor only ran for a couple hours at a time, and then she had to sleep. Her body was in the process of healing, but it was also impeding her in
Mhm.
a lot of ways. Oh man, we just took that and focused on the day to day of how her trauma was showing up for her. And it might have been a person in her life that was reigniting that trauma to live. And we take that moment, we take the emotion, where she feels it in the body, and what level it is. We gauge it by numbers.
Mhm.
And each time we do a round of tapping, which some of you may be familiar with. And those of you who want to know more, obviously, I'm here to teach you. And each time we'd bring that level down and bring that level down. Within a very short time, she was no longer wearing her vest. And you know the prime thing she was mourning, Courtney,
Mm.
was the loss of herself as she had been. That
Mm.
and the people around her who were expecting that former self before she actually got to it. But in the course of our working together, that former self came back better than ever. She went and she bought her dream home on a lake. She changed employment a couple times. She's now doing what she feels most called to do. And it's so beautiful to watch it happen.
Absolutely. Just as you're sharing this, I'm like, the bells are going off for me. And I'm just going to kind of like chime in here. When you're
Sure.
talking about how, like, if there's an incident and really our body can store that energy and it
Right.
can dysregulate the nervous system, it causes disharmony on all levels. And I was in a car accident almost 9 years ago. I used to work out 6 days a week, was
Oh,
very fit, very toned, very, very healthy, but at the same time, I was going through some major personal, like, devastating traumatic stuff. When we were hit head on, the vehicle hit us on the side. I was in the passenger side, and instantly I felt the pain and my life has been changed. And I've done EFT, but not to this extent for this, and I'm thinking, "Oh my goodness." And when you're talking about how the grief of who you were previously, like your identity changes, that makes perfect sense. And I'm like, there's something resonant within my soul. I go, oh my gosh. So I love that we can have this conversation. And I'm sure listeners are having it and they're going, oh my God, that's me. That could be why I'm experiencing what I am. This could be the tool that I've been looking for. Oh, this is so powerful. I love this, Jamie Lee. Oh my
oh,
God. This is incredible. Now, turning deep sorrow, like, there's so many different forms of sorrow, but into gratitude sounds like this huge transformation. I mean, it's not going to happen overnight. What are like some key ingredients that really make that shift possible?
before I shift to that, I want to
Mhm.
say one other thing
Yeah.
about what you said a second ago
Mhm.
that is so profound. And that is that the process of recovery, really. I,
Mhm.
I I guess that word's used in other circles, but it
Mhm.
still is recovering the former self and bringing it back stronger than ever is what I went through
Mhm.
with Ben, because those 2.5 years, like, it took the wind out of my sails in a way that, like, an accident, would
Yeah.
have. In a way, I had to learn to communicate with my nervous system in a way that before I started tapping EFT, I did not know that emotions are disruptions in the body's energy system, and that they lived in the body. I had no idea. And when I went through my advanced certification training and realized where things are living and tuning into that feeling in the stomach or that feeling in the throat
Mhm.
and tapping on the emotion that went with it. Now, I used professionals for my healing.
Mhm.
I didn't pull up a YouTube. I used professionals, and I am a healer and an empath, the Sedona trained energy healer. And what's so cool is that as we're going through what we're going through, Courtney, in your session, I feel exactly what you feel. I'll feel your emotion in your stomach. I'll feel it along with you. And then I get the release at the same time, which is what makes it so fun. I think many of us feel like, oh, I'll get to dealing with that later because it's going to be so hard and so painful to do. When I'm just going to say, maybe not. Maybe not.
I love how you share that because we think of this shift as painful and it's uncomfortable and it requires us to do something beyond our capability. But, honey, if you're listening to the show, think about all the stuff you're going through right now that you don't want to be and all the effort that it requires. And if you could shift your mindset and your energy targeted towards something that is going to give you that release, that is potent. That is powerful. That is empowering. And everybody can do this. Ooh, this is getting hot in here. I love this conversation.
I do too.
Let's talk a little bit about prayer and spiritual practices. How do they play into healing from grief, and how can they help people stay connected to the spirit of those that they've lost?
Oh, what a great, beautiful question. So I meditate, I pray. I don't drink alcohol, although for a few years after he died, everybody was handing me a cocktail. And I moved to the beach in Florida and people drink all day. And then one day I just went, you know what? I don't want to do that anymore. And I, of course, see how that has changed just my level of anxiety and my
Oh,
happiness,
yeah.
etc. So I just wanted to mention that because it's almost accepted in this country to drink away the pain of losing someone.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm going to say with tapping and with prayer. So you asked me what I do in the morning. Okay. What my spirituality is that I believe that there are loved ones and guides and spirits and Ben and grandma and grandpa and mom and dad and archangels and angels, and that they they actually love me
Mhm.
and that they love the work that I'm doing. And that is something I created. I didn't just wake up one morning and go, oh my goodness, I'm really loved by all.
Mhm.
Through the meditation, through going into my heart center, through listening to people like you, Courtney, I have become more and more aware that there is this divine plan. And it is for me to help people like you that are listening to this. When Ben died, it was like this big hole opened up in front of me, and I saw very clearly that I could just drop down that hole. And I decided, and this is a phrase from Buddhism, the type of Buddhism, to turn poison into medicine, to
Mm.
take the deepest pain I'd ever experienced, turn it into medicine for other people. And it was a choice I made.
That is so powerful. So, so powerful. You are so inspiring in so many ways. I want to go back to the EFT tapping you talk about, and you also do work with matrix energetics. That's a big part of your system. Now, there may be some listeners who aren't really familiar with that. Can you kind of break down how those tools can help them find the peace that they're really needing, that they're looking for through their grieving process?
Yes. Time travel is real. There is no time. It's all right now. All the memories that we hold are as real as if they were happening right now because they're stored in the body, right? So there are some memories that we want to go back to, but we do not need to re-embody the pain that we felt back then. And this involves childhood, and this involves before childhood. And before that, to these experiences of what we do through matrix reimprinting. This is one of my favorite processes to use, and that is to go forward to see your future self. And we do a meditation, and I guide into this future self, and you see your future self as you want to embody her. And then I have you look inside your body to see, oh, what's lighting up? What's the almost barrier between you and being that future self? Then we take a look at that emotion, find out where it's come, and it'll come to you where it's coming from. Then we'll go back in the past in a moment that maybe you felt unworthy, but we freeze the situation. We keep you separate from your past self. We tap on that little self and we free her and let her start recreating her memories and changing anything she wants about that time in the past, so it no longer lives in your nervous system. It's incredibly fun.
This
And
is this is interesting. So when you talk about so is this incorporating in some respects like that term that's used a lot in the spiritual community, like inner child healing? Okay. Wow, so neat.
and it's fun, because you sit your little self on your lap and you hold her, and she says, I want to go to the beach. And you're like, done. And you go to the beach, you can do whatever you want. She wants, you let her lead.
And when you do that, you are then shifting the energetics of your past and really also your future too.
Totally.
Now, I'm curious because as I'm listening, I go, wow, this is really powerful. In any in any respect of the work that you're doing, is this incorporating any of like the law of attraction principles? In the sense that you're focusing on how you want to feel that desired outcome?
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love this. This is so fascinating here. Matrix energetics. I love that. Now, a lot of my listeners are mediums or light workers, and they're developing their spiritual gifts. How can they take some of what you're sharing right now and help the people that are coming to them that have experienced the loss of a loved one? Or maybe these light workers, these mediums are experiencing grief for themselves. How can how can they take some of these like tools or like what would be a simple exercise that they could do that could help them like right now?
A simple exercise that you can do that will help you right now. And this I teach to all of my clients, and is to, there are several tapping points, but let's just say side of the hand.
Mm-hmm.
In any moment that you're feeling any kind of distress,
Mm-hmm.
fear, anxiety, discomfort, you can tap on the side of your hand with your other four fingers and say, even though I'm feeling, let's say angry, even though I'm feeling angry right now, it's okay to feel how I feel. And
Mm-hmm.
I deeply and completely honor and respect myself. It's okay to feel how I feel. And when you give yourself permission to allow that feeling that you've got, oh, I can't feel that. I'm way too enlightened. Not for me. When you give yourself the permission to feel it, it will begin to lift. And you give yourself those words of love.
The permission to feel it. The permission to feel that. Absolutely. There's something within our society that doesn't always create the space where it is safe for us to feel the feels. So, because of that, we really have to take ownership for our emotions, take responsibility for that, and also our healing. So incredible. Now, I want to kind of talk a little bit about Ben's Memorial Mile. This has really made a huge difference in so many people's lives. And you're raising awareness, you're raising funds. What's been the most rewarding part of organizing this event, like year after year?
I have to say the caveat that I have a committee,
Okay.
and Michael Lifson, Larry Lifson, Aaron Silver, Michelle Lifson, and Danny Mulcrone, my son Aaron, and Tori are the ones who really do all the heavy lifting. I now wear a t-shirt that says Ben's mom. And my role at the mile is to be loving and welcoming everybody. And I set the tone for the mile. And it's something that people look forward to year after year after year. And every year it gets better. This year, we're joining up with the Chicago Area Running Association. And this is really all through Michael's work this year. He has just done an amazing job. And so we gave out awards for age ranges. We had 2 races, and they were through the streets of Downers Grove, which is, tree-lined, wraparound porches, just like when you think idyllic scenario, this is it. And so we gave awards, and it's just this love fest. And Ben was this little love festy kind of guy. It was impossible not to be smiling when you were with him. So it embodies his spirit. And we donate to the body and brain to actually do schizophrenia research, which.
Wow. Wow. So talk a little bit about that. What's the research like? What are they looking at as far as trying to determine like a source or cause, like an early diagnosis?
Yeah. And if there's anything that can be done once it starts, which
Wow.
when Ben got it, there was nothing. There wasn't anything. There were some drugs that he got put on that he didn't like. And whenever he went off him, there was, another exciting moment.
Yeah. So you're really pushing towards advocacy and awareness and looking for treatments that are really effective because anybody who's listening, you're not alone. There are people that are out there that are wanting to support you and love you and help you through this. This is incredible. For spiritual practitioners, mediums, light workers that are tuning in, what's your top advice for supporting clients or loved ones who are going through grief?
I do pray for my clients. I do meditate and surround them with love.
Mm.
We start most sessions in some type of prayer, meditation, whatever but not all, not
Mm.
all. And be with them in a listening that is so deep, and don't be afraid of it. And if you feel at all afraid, tap on that feeling. Even though I'm scared to meet with so-and-so because they're going to cry or whatever it is, tap on that feeling and know that you and this person, which I'm sure you know, were divinely brought together.
Mm-hmm.
And deep listening and love. And if you can help them, and if they're open to it, they can communicate with any loved one in spirit that that they would like. All I do is listen for Ben's voice and write what I hear.
So there's some mediumship abilities there that you have. Very powerful. I'm really excited to hear, Jamie Lee. What's next for you? What's on the horizon for your grief to gratitude system? Any upcoming projects or new directions that you're thrilled about?
I am thrilled about being on your podcast and meeting your audience. And I would love to meet you even more deeply. If you want to send me an email, I'll send you the transcript of Ben. This is our Forever Ben because he's everybody's Ben, not just mine. I'll send you the transcript of the book. And if you would like to meet me for a time just to feel how your energy and my energy blend, and if you feel like there's something in what I said that resonates with you for a new freedom, reach out to me for a free consultation. There's nothing I like better.
Amazing. How can our listeners get involved with your mission, whether it's through Ben's Memorial Mile or other ways to support your work?
Thank you. Ben'sMemorialMile.com has all of the 2024 pictures. This just happened a couple of weeks ago. Up on it. You can donate. There's a song that was written for Ben that's on there, and also a couple other films that are just heartwarming. And the next one, if you email me, I can put you on the list. We don't know the date of the next one yet, next summer. And tapforhappiness.com is my website. And tapforhappiness@gmail.com is also, that's how to get in touch with me. Or give me a call at 630-926-3001 or a text.
All of that's on the show notes, everybody. That's incredible. Jamie Lee, thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your story, your personal journey, and your incredible work that you are doing. It's been so amazing to have you here and really share your wisdom with our listeners.
Oh, Courtney, thank you for being the light that you are in the connected spirit. Thank you.